Hey everyone, welcome back to Living Stones podcast with Amoya Rowe, where we love Jesus Christ and read the Bible. Today I am turned up because we're going to talk about the flood. The last time that we spoke, we talked about Noah and we touched on when he first got the instructions to build the ark. We talked about some of the things that were happening on the earth that even led for God to want to send a flood in the first place. I just wanted to say this. We started out with the lucky number 6, and I'm happy to report that we're no longer lucky number 6, but we are actually now lucky number 86. So cheers for us. Look at us go. I'm so excited. We're now lucky number 86, and that means that there are 86 people who are hearing the word of God and studying the Bible. Do you understand how powerful that is? So amen for us. I'm happy. I'm really proud of you all. But I want to dive right into chapter 7. This is where it gets deep. Get it? Because it's the water and okay. Anyway, let's start. So let's read verse 1. So verse 1 says, "Then the Lord said to Noah, 'Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation.'" So if you remember from chapter 6, verse 8, where it says, "But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord," this is just emphasizing that same aspect. It says that because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. So in the midst of everything that's going on, chaotic, and everybody being tossed to and fro and all of this other stuff, and then we talked about the sons of God interbreeding with the daughters of men, all of this craziness, all of this chaos is happening, but Noah found grace. Noah, God saw that he was righteous in the midst of. So that means to tell us that we, in the midst of everything that's going on right now in society, we as ambassadors of Christ, as living stones, we can still hold on to our righteousness. We can still be righteous in this generation. We can still find grace in this generation. You can still find grace. You can still be righteous in this generation. Okay. And so let's dive right into it. Keep going into 2 verse 4, okay? Because God repeats the plans for the flood. He said it over in chapter 6, but chapter 6 verse 13 to 21. He talks about the flood and he gives Noah instructions, but in verse 2 through 4, God repeats the plans for the flood, but there's still no after flood details at this point, right? Noah has no idea what's going to happen when I'm done. But if you go down to verse 5, it says, "And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him." This is just like what we saw in chapter 6, verse 22, when the idea of the ark came up in the first place, because it said, in response to all of those instructions and being told about building the ark, "Thus Noah did according to all that God commanded him, so he did." And here it is again, chapter 7. God tells him the same instructions 2 through 4 about the ark and everything, and getting the animals and male and female, so to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. Here's what's interesting. So Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. Now that's a long time. He had sons when he was 500. So was he building for 100 years? Can you imagine? For 100 years saying, "Hey, there's a flood coming." 100 years. He had 100 years to prepare. 100. If you can't build the ark, build the boat. You had 100 years. Wow. But let's keep going. So, and Noah, he did according to everything that God commanded him to do. So, Noah, let's go down to verse 6. So, Noah was 500 when he got sons, right? And then he was 600 when the flood waters came. So that's 100 years. 7 through 10. Let's look at verses 7 to 10. The flood begins 7 days after everyone is loaded on the ark. I have a question for you. Does that mean that there was a delay, or was it just an appointed time? Sometimes God tells you to build an ark. Whatever that ark is, start the business. Start saving some more. Build a relationship with that person. Write the book. Start a family. Marry that person. whatever. God tells you to build an ark, right? And you're building and building and building for 100 years. Now we know it might not be that way out, well, literally. But it seems like you're building forever. You're just in builder mode. Bob the Builder, just building. And then the ark is finished. You're loaded up into it. But now you still have to wait 7. Can you imagine what that was like? After 100 years of building it, the ark is finally finished. And then you go sit in the ark and nothing. Sunday, nothing. Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, nothing. Friday, nothing. Saturday, nothing. Can you imagine what the people were saying? Now you wasted 100 years and 7 days. Can you imagine? But it was an appointed time. So if you're asking yourself, did I waste my time? No, you didn't. Wait. After you've done all you can, after you have done all you can, sit and wait. Stand and wait. Lie down and wait. Whatever it is, don't give up. Just wait. Okay? Because you start questioning, well, is this really going to happen? Like, is it going to rain or not? You know, like, God, you said to build for a flood, but there's still sunshine going on outside right now. You know, wait. Just wait. It's coming. Let's go to verses 11 through 12, okay? And I want to read that one. I want to read that one specifically. So it says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So let me ask you again, was it a delay or was it an appointed time? It was an appointed time. Wait. Just wait. Okay? And so, do you realize, wait, I want to say something. Do you realize that it says all the fountains of the great deep were broken and the windows of heaven were open? So that means that water was coming from above and below. My God. Noah, I almost said Adam. Noah must have felt real funny. Waiting in that ark for 7 days, waiting for but then when it finally came, when the windows of heaven were, wow, when it finally came after 107 days, it's coming from above and below. I guess, when God says to see if I don't open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, you won't have room to receive. I guess this is why the wait is important. Because it's coming abundantly. It's coming in abundance. The flood is coming from above and below, right? And then let's go down to 16 because it says, so those that entered, male and female, of all flesh went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. You know what that means? It can't be open. Because what God closes is closed. We talked about in chapter 6, God removed everything from the root. God said, I'm taking everything out. We're going to go back to the beginning. Right? And so in 17 through 24, God moved everything literally back to the beginning. Do you realize it? In 17 through, okay, let's read it. So now the flood was on the earth 40 days. Boom. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth. And the ark moved about on the surface of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth. And all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died and moved on the earth. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing, and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. Let's talk about it. If you're hearing this, which is God, please. Now we know we're going to talk about it some more in chapter 9, but it's if you're hearing it right now, there's thunder in the background. It's getting ready to storm. It's been a rainy summer. It's been a really hot summer, but it's been a rainy summer as well. I think we're in hurricane season right now in Florida. But so yeah, do you realize that 17 through 24, he's putting everything right back to the beginning? Okay, look, 17, only water, right? Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark and rose above there. You only looking at water. 18, the waters covered the earth. 21, all flesh died. Ain't nobody there, right? 22, the breath of the spirit is taken out of nostrils. Remember, it was put into their nostrils right in the beginning, but now you starting back from the ground. 23, only Noah and all who were with him lived. What does that remind you of? That reminds me of Adam and Eve being with God. As long as they were with him, they were fine. Ain't no tilling of the ground, ain't no toil, right? And then look at 24. The waters prevail for 150 days. Wait a minute. Wait, look at this. Look at this. Everything went back to the beginning, right? But look at this. 24. I want to read it. Let's read it. It says, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. Now you mean to tell me it took me 100 years to build this ark, and the water's only here for 150 days? You mean to tell me that it took 30 years to build this marriage, and it only takes 30 seconds to determine the trajectory of the next 30 years? You mean to tell me I was in labor for 36 hours? I was in labor for 36 hours, and within 36 minutes, this fool done got themselves in all this trouble, and now they cursing at me, and now you want to... Listen, you can't measure the goodness and the faithfulness of God by the amount of years that you toil comparative to what the blessing is that you got out of the toil. Okay. You can't, I only used it if for a little bit. You know, I put so much into it, and now, I mean, that was it. Don't forget, you're alive. The ark did what it was supposed to do. That's why we got to stand against this whole microwave vibrations where we think everything's going to come easy. No, this was built to last. This ark was built to last. The waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. I done took 100 years, waited 7 days after finished building it, and all just for 150 days. Now, comparatively, you would say, dang, he took all that time just for that small little amount of thing. That's where preparation comes in. A lot of the times you're seeing the glory and the honor and the beauty and the magnitude and the glamour of what someone has accomplished, but they've been practicing that for years. They put 100 years into that. And then they had to wait 7 more days. So be mindful that you're not measuring your success and measuring where you are based on the glamour that you're seeing in somebody else. You don't know the bulk of the iceberg. You're just seeing the tip. 100 years went into this. It took 100 years and 7 days to prepare for this 150 days. Yeah. Let's keep going though. So, well, we're finished, but there's something that I want to make sure that we realize. You know, that again, he built the ark just as God commanded. And then God went and can you imagine what would have happened if Noah was like, God told me not to put any windows in here, but I really think I like open lighting, and I just want, I don't know, I'm going for more of like a modern farmhouse type of vibe. So I'm just gonna, can you imagine, like, how silly does that sound? How silly does that sound? Do it the way that God told you to do it. He knows. He knows what's next. Because remember, leading all the way up to this point, Noah has no idea what's coming afterwards. He just knows where God is right now. Right? And also take courage in knowing that God can take you back to the beginning. Okay, you messed up. Okay, you made a mistake. Okay, you went left. You should have went right. He can take you back to the beginning. He could take you back to the days where the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. He can take you back there. And how immaculate is it that he'll take you back to the beginning, but just because you're at the beginning doesn't mean that you're starting from zero. Hello. And we're going to talk about that, I think, in 8. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in 8. But just because he's brought you back, look, the echo, back, all the way to the beginning doesn't mean that you're by yourself. Okay? And it doesn't mean that you're starting from zero. You're starting now with a lot more wisdom. Now you know what not to do. Okay? Again, build, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it seems burdensome. Even when it seems build. Just do it anyway. Do it anyway. And be mindful to just keep this in mind that a low yield is better than 100% destruction. I'll say that a low yield, Y-I-E-L-D, a low yield is better than 100% destruction. I say that because, again, it took him 100 years to build this thing. And he only used it for 150 days. I know that sometimes we pursue things, we go after ideas, we implement everything that the vision that God told us to do, we do everything according to what he said. And then when we were imagining millions of dollars coming in from my book and my clothing line and my business and my daycare, and I'm maxed it, and then we end up only having like $5. Only 2 people listen to our music. Only 3 downloads from my podcast, whatever. But remember that promotion comes from God. And a lot of times I feel like God puts us into positions to test, to see, not to test for him to be, but for us to test ourselves. To see, are you going to stay by me? Are you going to stick with me? When it looks like it's not going the way that you wanted it to go, are you going to run? Are you going to go the other direction? Are you going to give up? Are you going to put the praise of man above what I said about you? If nobody likes it, if nobody retweets it, if nobody shares it, are you going to stop? Are you going to give up? We got to stand, y'all. We got to be immovable. God told me to build, so I'm going to build. I know it looks stupid. I know it looks crazy. I know I'm not qualified. I know I don't have the right features. I don't look the part. I don't sound the part. I'm to this, I'm to that, and everything else. But guess what? I'm a build. I said it last episode, called me Bob the Builder, because I'm a build. If he told me to build, I'm going to build. And I'm going to build according to what he said, because he's good. He's still got a 0 knockout rate. He's good, right? Trust God. Just trust him. I know it's hard. I'm not trying to deflect away from that. I'm not trying to deflect from the fact that sometimes trusting God hurts. Sometimes it means letting go of what you thought was right. Sometimes it means going into a space where you have no control, where you have no idea. No idea. And it hurts. It's confusing. It can feel constricting. Hello. It can feel constricting. It can feel like, man, God, I feel like I could do, man, you only gave me 10%, but I feel like I could hit a good 90. Shut up. Shut up and trust him. It hurts. I know. Trust him anyway. Build the ark. Build. If he's called you to build, build. You got this. And even if you don't, God do. Anyway, let's talk about it next time. The ultimate insurance of God, where I know I don't got this right. I know I'm all over the place, but God is my insurance plan. I love you. Read the Bible. Let's meet up next time and talk about chapter 8, where the floodwaters reside. Bye.